Like animals, vampires are driven by instincts, despite all efforts to remain humane and hidden among mortal society. Each vampire's beast is a force of nature that can never be truly tamed. Animalism is a conduit of the feral nature of animalisms and the predatory instincts of the vampiric beast. Using it allows communication and command over nearly all of the animal kingdom. Perhaps more terrifying, it also allows its user temporary control over the beast. Some find they need animalism to fit into more civilized society. For others, this devastating tool helps assert dominance over peers. Greetings, Kindred. I am Voivode Maquette, and welcome back to our World of Darkness. And tonight we're going to be going over some of Mind's Eye Theater's Vampire the Masquerade Laws of the Night, specifically the disciplines. This is a level by level, where we will be going through each individual level of a discipline power that can be found for vampires in World of Darkness games, specifically for live action roleplay, for LARP. Now, these can get a little bit confusing and long-winded. Therefore, I have provided time codes in the description below so that you can fast track to the information you need for each individual discipline. With that, let's go ahead and get started with the general information that you all need for using disciplines using the Laws of the Night system. When a mortal is embraced and becomes a vampire, they have innate supernatural powers called disciplines. When a vampire feeds on human blood, they learn to refine and temper the resonance of the victims to unlock terrifying and devastating powers of the blood. These powers range from supernatural strength, speed, and resiliency to the ability to subjugate the minds or cloud the perception of enemies and others. Disciplines are rated on a scale from 1 to 5 dots. After character creation, a character must purchase additional dots with XP. Each unique discipline has the following general characteristics. Type. Are the discipline powers mental, social, or physical? Masquerade risk. How dangerous to the masquerade is using a majority of this discipline's powers? Blood resonance. What type of blood must be consumed to learn this discipline? Each power within a discipline has a cost, usually a simple or standard action, and or a number of required rouse checks. Each discipline power also has a listed duration. Learning disciplines. Learning a dot from an in-clan discipline requires a downtime action from the vampire, as they find and feed upon a mortal with the correct blood resonance of that discipline. If a vampire seeks to learn a discipline that's not an in-clan, she must drink 1 rouse check's worth of blood from a vampire who possesses that discipline, in or out of clan at any level. She must then spend a downtime action feeding upon a mortal with the correct blood resonance for that discipline. This process must be repeated each time she wishes to learn a dot of an out-of-clan discipline. Learning Oblivion or Blood Sorcery as an out-of-clan discipline is the exception to that rule. In addition to those requirements, the learning vampire must be willingly taught by a vampire who possesses Oblivion or Blood Sorcery as an in-clan discipline. This requires a downtime action to be spent by both the learner and the instructor. Thin blood vampires must possess the vampiric discipline merit prior to learning 1 selected discipline. Selecting powers. Every time a character gains a dot in a discipline, they must choose 1 power from that discipline list. The power chosen must be equal to or less than the new level of dots she possesses in that discipline. Note that choosing a lower level power does not provide a discount on the discipline dot purchase. For example, a Brujah who started the game without any potence wants to learn both Prowess and Soaring Leap from Potence. They purchase Soaring Leap with their first dots for 5 XP, and Prowess with their second dots for 10 XP, requiring a total of 15 XP. Amalgams. Amalgam powers are special powers that require proficiency in more than one discipline. They may be selected instead of standard discipline powers when you purchase a new discipline dot. In order to select an amalgam power, you must also possess the listed number of dots in the prerequisite discipline. Amalgam powers count as belonging to both disciplines for all purposes. Also, as a side note, any amalgam can be purchased by any clan. Unless otherwise stated, the only prerequisite for purchasing an amalgam is having the number of dots in the secondary discipline listed and the experience points to purchase it. Using disciplines. The following rules apply to all discipline use, unless otherwise stated. A discipline power can be used on the same target on subsequent turns, even if the first attempt failed. Multiple instances of the same discipline power do not stack. If a power has a duration and is used multiple times on the same target, the duration resets and begins again, instead of having more time added. Any discipline that has an action cost to activate lasts for 1 hour. A character must be able to see a target clearly to use the power on that target. Line of sight can be enhanced by sensory-based powers, such as heightened senses, but may not be enhanced by technological assistance, such as video cameras. To establish line of sight, the target must be observed with the vampire's own senses. Any power can be ended if the user spends a simple action. Discipline mechanics are written from the point of view of a vampire user. However, if legally possessed by another creature type, consider vampire-specific terms to apply to that user. Partially supernatural creatures, such as ghouls, are considered mortal. If a power has a greater effect on mortals, it will also have a greater effect on ghouls. Other rules and limitations specific to a discipline are listed in the characteristics section of each discipline. A number of discipline powers refer to situational modifiers such as relenting, wound penalties, conditions, and line of sight. For more information and explanation for those terms, see Core Rules Systems on page 83 of Laws of the Night. Combat turn duration. Unless otherwise stated, a power that lasts for multiple turns in combat expires on the same initiative count as initiated, regardless of whether the character who initiated the power is still alive or if their initiative has changed. Gaze and focus. Some disciplines require the target to focus their attention on the user of the power. These powers do not require eye contact, but do require having the attention of the individual you wish to control. Individuals may attempt to find ways to avoid making eye contact, but the powers of the blood are not so easily thwarted. Gaze and focus only requires having the attention of the individual you wish to target. Anyone whose attention is on you is a viable target for powers that require gaze and focus. This includes the following individuals: those who are looking into your eyes, those holding an in-person conversation, not over the phone or video chat with you, those who have physically attacked you or used a mental or social power on you, regardless of the success of such attacks. Gaze and focus gained this way lasts for the remainder of the scene or combat scenario. It is possible for a single person to focus on 2 or more individuals. If supernatural powers are used to make you pay attention to two characters at the same time. You might glance back and forth between the two, or move to a place where you can see both simultaneously. You are also capable of holding the gaze and focus of multiple parties. Transformative powers. Any power that significantly alters a character's physical shape is considered a transformative power. Each of these powers explicitly states that it is transformative. Unless otherwise stated, transformative powers have the following characteristics. Transformative powers last until dawn, or until the user sleeps, is subject to the helpless condition, falls unconscious, or falls into torpor. The user may also spend a simple action to end the transformation early. A character may only use and benefit from one transformative power at a time. If a character attempts to use a transformative power while already being affected by another, the first ends immediately, and the second activates. Transformative powers do not prevent you from using non-transformative powers as long as your current form can reasonably fulfill the requirements of a non-transformative power. When you activate a transformative power, clothing and small personal items disappear. These return when you regain your normal form. A character cannot use physical weapons, guns, swords, etc., while transformed. Conditions are not resolved, nor are wounds and injuries mended or altered when a character utilizes a transformative power. A character with one eye has one fewer eyes in all forms. Obscured characters and out-of-body powers. Some powers allow you to separate your consciousness or senses from your physical body, or to hide your physical form. When extending your consciousness or senses beyond the limits of your physical body, you may do so only as far as the boundaries of your game, or 75 miles, whichever is lower. Whenever you are obscured from mundane observation, or separating your consciousness or senses from your body, hold a closed fist against your shoulder. This signifies you, the player, are not physically present as your character. This gesture should not be used as justification for other players to attempt to detect your presence with supernatural powers. Your storyteller should also be alerted to the location of your actual physical form. If you are able to perceive multiple locations at once, use an assisting storyteller to observe and report from one location. You may also rely on other characters in the scene to relay what happened while you chose to concentrate on one location. Use of such powers does not mean that the other players must pause roleplay while you move back and forth between multiple scenes. Mortals. Some powers have differing effects when targeting mortals. Ghouls and thin-blood vampires without the vampiric resiliency merit are considered mortals for the purpose of discipline effects against them. Fully supernatural creatures such as changelings, mage, and werewolves are not considered mortals. I understand that there is a lot of information to take into that, and what I've stated there are the verbatim, word for word, taken from the book, examples of the general rules for utilizing disciplines when playing in a LARP setting. I hope that was helpful for you, but let's go ahead and move on to the discipline in question. So tonight we're going over animalism, the power to communicate and control animals as well as the beasts of yourself and others. The most common clans that you're going to find who utilize this discipline are going to be the Gangrel, the Nosferatu, Clan Ravnos, and the Tzimisce. It takes an imaginative mind to utilize this power to its fullest, and as I've seen as a storyteller, it seems to be one of the more forgotten disciplines. Even those who have it naturally just tend to let it fall by the wayside, sadly. And maybe you've had different experiences, but in my 20 years of playing and running games, it does seem like just the power that doesn't seem that it gets as much love. Now, otherwise mentioned, animalism powers can only be used on vertebrates and non-human animals. Like I said, unless otherwise mentioned. There are always exceptions to the rule. What type of discipline is animalism? It's social. You are primarily going to be using your social track for attributes and your social skills when utilizing this power. And then masquerade threat, for the most part, is low. Talking to an animal might seem weird, but someone observing you might just kind of see you as being an animal lover or someone who's going through some like weird mental issues as you're just screaming at a pigeon in the middle of Times Square. And then the last thing we need to discuss before going into the actual discipline powers themselves is blood resonance. To learn animalism, you're going to want to drink from animals. Animal blood is going to be what is going to give you the proper resonance to be able to utilize these powers. Level 1, Feral Whispers. A close relationship with the beast allows a vampire with this power to speak to and understand animals from all walks of life. So being able to actually speak to animals, you get direct eye contact, and through body language or a series of howls and chirps and whatever is going to allow you to do this. So what are the costs? Typically, it's free. There are situations which may cause a rouse check to be needed. And let's go ahead and go over the system so we can get into more details on that. You can communicate with animals by murmuring to them in animalistic sounds or by using body language. To ask questions of an animal, you have to consult your storyteller. The storyteller should respond from the point of view of a local animal that has been drawn by your howls, chirps, and other inquiring noises. A character who wishes to establish communication must be both visible and audible to the creature. If there are no animals in your line of sight, you may spend a simple action and perform a rouse check to summon the closest animals of a chosen type, such as birds, dogs, coyotes, crows, or any one nearby animal. Summoned animals are not granted any unusual powers to answer your call and must be able to travel to your location within 15 minutes. A coyote cannot open a locked door, but it will arrive in a parking lot, while a crow could more easily fulfill a rooftop summons. This power confers no special ability, intelligence, or courage to animals summoned, and they are under no obligation to obey further commands. Feral Whispers will not summon an animal under the effects of another character's animalism powers, or one who is bloodbound to another character. Further, if the storyteller believes you are asking about something animals would not notice or might not understand, your character may receive a confused or incomplete answer. Asking, "Have you seen any two-legged creatures, mortal or vampire, pass through here tonight?" will likely receive a reasonable answer. A local chipmunk, stray dog, or bird could tell you that a pack of 6 men walked by, and they were here very recently. However, such animals would be unable to tell one mortal from another, nor identify any kind of equipment they were carrying. The duration for this power is 1 scene. So, Feral Whispers is, it can be useful. It really can be. Being able to get specific information, it's really all the imagination of the person who's using it and coaching it and the proper questions asked, also coupled with the proper imagination of the storyteller involved. I love playing animal NPCs, and you can make them smart if the player gives you the proper cues. Asking if, hey, did a guy named Dave walk by might be something that goes straight over an animal's head, but did a human walk by with long hair could be something that they might be able to utilize. Descriptive questions are kind of going to be the main focus that you're going to ask here. And like I said, storytellers can have so much fun with this. Now is the time for you to act like that animal, to give them answers that make the players think. It's a lot of fun, in my opinion, to utilize animals as NPCs. Level 1, Sense the Beast. With this power, you can learn how hungry a vampire is, how angry a werewolf is, or a general idea of a target's hostility level. You can discover animals nearby and read their intentions. So we are on Sense the Beast, which is a lot of fun. Probably, as much as I love Feral Whispers, Sense the Beast is definitely more utilitarian. If you are just trying to get basic information out of your disciplines, which some people, especially people who are just starting in the game, might wish to have something that's just going to answer easy questions. And you can kind of like blend yourself into roleplay as time goes by. The cost for Sense the Beast is 1 rouse check. The system states that spend a simple action to target a character in your line of sight and perform 1 rouse check. You can immediately identify if your target is a werewolf or vampire and their current rage or hunger level. If the target is not a vampire or werewolf, you sense any hostility in the target, but not the target of the hostility or the propensity to indulge in that hostility. Alternatively, you may sense the general number of animals in your line of sight and their mood or intentions. This includes any animals that would normally be in your line of sight but are hidden by darkness, fog, or other non-solid obstructions. In this way, you automatically detect any animal under the effects of the Atavism power. For example, you may detect a pack of wolves lurking in the forest nearby, hunting for prey, or a circling hawk on patrol. The duration for this power is immediate. So when you use it, you get the answers, and that's basically it. I like this power because having that ability to sense that someone is a vampire, you don't just know there's a vampire nearby, especially if somebody has something as simple as Blush of Life up. Being able to hunt down whether or not somebody is a werewolf also is, I don't know if you want to use that to help hunt or if you want to use that to avoid. That is 100% up to you, but I think it's very useful being able to tell individuals' hunger and rage. This alternate use of the power opens up a whole world of opportunity when you're just like trying to figure out what's in the area. This power, coupled with Feral Whispers, would help you understand and at least narrow down who you should talk to if you're trying to get information from an animal. I like this power a lot due to the fact that it does kind of step outside of the old uses of animalism from earlier editions. And it actually brings a little bit of what the first level of Protean from Vampire the Requiem was, where you can just sense something else's beast. This is a useful gift. Level 2, Animal Succulence. While certainly not what your beast prefers, you have learned to sustain yourself on animal blood, opening a world of easier feeding opportunities. Now we touch on Animal Succulence, probably one of the most useful utilitarian uses of this gift. The cost is free. Once you purchase it, it is active. You do not have to do anything to get it going. The system states that when feeding from animals, you slake 1 additional hunger, and your blood potency is considered 2 levels lower with regards on feeding penalties for slaking hunger from animal blood. The duration for this power, as I said before, is passive. Once you purchase it, it is always active. Can you actually just stop and think about how useful animal succulence is? As a vampire's blood potency gets higher, it gets harder and harder to feed from animals. With this, you count your blood potency as 2 lower than it actually is recorded. And you gain an additional hunger when it comes to feeding from animals. That is just very useful in my opinion. Level 2, Atavism. With this power, you can make an animal run from you, fight for you, or otherwise give you aid. The challenge pool for this power is Charisma plus Animal Kin versus a set difficulty. The cost is 1 rouse check, and the system states, target a single animal in your line of sight who immediately becomes aware of your presence, and spend your standard action. Perform a static challenge using your Charisma plus Animal Kin versus a difficulty of 4. If you target an animal already under the effects of another character's atavism, or one who is bloodbound to another character, the difficulty is equal to the other character's manipulation plus resolve. If the challenge is successful, you can choose to enact one of the following. Fight. On its initiative, the target animal must attempt a physical attack against another target of your choosing. You must visually indicate your target by pointing if you do not have Feral Whispers as a power. Flight. On its initiative, the target animal must spend its action to move in a direction directly away from you, taking the maximum number of steps available to it. If prevented from moving, it will attempt to free itself before continuing to flee. It may do nothing else during this movement. Guard or patrol. Your target spends the next hour patrolling up to 1 square mile of territory. Alternatively, you can command your target animal to stay in one spot and watch a location. If it detects an interloper, you may command it to either attack or to alert you. For the remainder of the scene, you may spend a simple action to alter the instructions given to the target animal. Duration. Duration, 1 scene or 1 hour if using the patrol option. Atavism makes it so that you have more of almost a dominate power over animals, being able to make them fight, run, or patrol or guard an area for you. This is kind of an immediate action, almost like compel would be when utilizing dominate. This is the kind of thing that I can definitely see used in a LARP setting, due to the fact that if you're investigating an area and you know you got to be in and out, having an animal such as a hawk fly around the perimeter of the area for up to 1 mile and then be able to return to you to let you know when someone's coming could massively be useful. The same thing as if you have a big scary junkyard dog who's willing to attack anyone who's coming into the area that you're rummaging through. Level 3. Enhance the Wild Ride. You have learned how to work with the beast instead of against it, leaning into every frenzy and becoming far more dangerous. The cost for this power is free. System. Once purchased, Enhance the Wild Ride activates automatically whenever you enter frenzy. While active, your blood potency is considered 2 higher, only for the purposes of determining your blood surge bonus. In addition, once per frenzy, you may blood surge without making a rouse check. If the use of this power would consider your blood potency to be a 6, your blood surge bonus is +3. If your blood potency would be considered 7, then your blood surge bonus increases to +4. This power is the exception to the rule that social powers end when you enter a frenzy. Duration, passive. This discipline is a wonderful use as a passive. Now, when I first started playing Vampire the Masquerade, the first thing that I did is I started latching towards disciplines that I didn't have to put thought into. I started playing vampires that had instant power increases or more damage or being able to take less damage. And the Gangrel, I'm just going to point that out. Gangrel are just perfect utilitarian vampires where you don't actually have to think about how things work. You just get a stat bonus for a lot of things. This is a great example for one of those, especially when people would not realize that you have this ability. Especially with the concept of being able to make a blood surge without making a rouse check once per frenzy, that is terrifying. Being able to have a bonus of being able to say that your blood potency is too higher during blood surges is terrifying when your blood's surging for more strength and more power. Level 3. Quell the Beast. After fight or flight comes exhaustion, and you have learned how to force that final step onto others, dulling the urge to fight, in mortal or beast alike. Your challenge pool for Quell the Beast is going to be Charisma plus Animal Ken versus your target's Stamina plus Resolve. The cost is a single rouse check. The system states, spend a standard action and make a contested challenge. If you are successful and your target is a mortal, they become overcome with a severe lethargy and are only capable of defending themselves. They may only take defensive actions or flee, moving at half their normal rate. This lasts for 30 minutes if you remain, or for 5 minutes after you leave their presence. If you are successful and your target is a vampire, instead of being incapacitated, they may not perform blood surges for 2 turns starting on their next initiative. Finally, if your target was in a frenzy when this power was successfully used, they immediately fall out of frenzy. A frenzying vampire affected in this way does not lose the ability to blood surge. You may not target yourself with Quell the Beast. And duration is various depending on how you use it, as stated before. This is probably the most used discipline in the animalism arsenal in the games that I have run. Being able to take someone out of frenzy is definitely a worthwhile discipline, especially in LARPs where you do tend to have a lot of game time happening in Elysiums, or if you're running a scene that happens to be around a lot of humans, being able to knock someone out of it is kind of important. But if you think about also Quell the Beast, using this on a human, making it so that they move at half speed, they can only utilize tests that will allow them to protect themselves, defend themselves, and to get away from you. This is the perfect discipline if you're the kind of vampire who likes to go out there and hunt. Hunting down your prey, stalking them, making them slightly weaker. This is definitely a discipline of hunters. Level 3, Unliving Hive. You've studied invertebrate species, learning how to manipulate your blood in a way that can apply to a swarm of insects, just as another vampire would ghoul a single creature. We are talking about Unliving Hive, and this is the first example of an amalgam discipline in animalism. This amalgam, which means a combination of 2 disciplines, you have to have level 2 Obfuscate to utilize this. It does not matter which level 2 Obfuscate, but you have to have 2 points in Obfuscate to buy Unliving Hive. The cost of this power is free, or a single rouse check, depending on specific circumstances. The system states, your animalism has developed to a point where you may use animalism on insects and spiders. This benefit applies to all of your animalism powers. Groups of insects are treated as a single animal for the purpose of animalism. By spending 5 minutes in concentration, you may call a swarm of arachnids or insects. And, if you wish, direct them to hide inside of your body. Gathering this swarm into yourself requires the presence of sufficient insects and cannot be done during combat. While the swarm of creatures are inside of you, only an X-ray or similar device can reveal them. The swarm remains inside you until dismissed or destroyed. When targeted by a ranged attack, you may instantly expel a swarm of insects housed in your body to envelop you in a protective cloud of flying bugs or a thick carapace of beetles and spiders. This negates the ranged attack entirely, as the swarm blocks it. This costs 1 rouse check, does not require an action, and may be done at any time in the initiative order. Unliving Hive can be used only once in this way before you have to replenish the swarm inside of you. Duration: until dismissed or destroyed. Unliving Hive is probably one of the more nasty disciplines. I do know that there's a lot of people out there who have issues with bugs and things like that, and this might be one of those powers that might end up being a veil when it comes to utilizing it inside of the LARP setting. The idea that, okay, we'll just know that that happened, but you don't have to go into great description, is something that has popped up in LARPs that I have run with this power already. But it is kind of neat. The idea that if somebody shoots at you, you can instantly just have a swarm of bugs pop up to deflect the bullet. That's a lot. That's pretty distracting, just to put it that way. But that whole idea is that this isn't just for that. A lot of people are going to read that and only think of that. But the fact is, Unliving Hive not only makes it so that you have a group of bugs living inside of your body, which is disturbing enough, but all of your animalism powers now work on invertebrates. Take that in consideration. It's not just the obvious uses. It opens up a whole just variety of ways you can complicate your game using this power. Level 4, Subsume the Spirit. You have a way with animals, and your blood allows you to form an even stronger link. With this power, you are able to connect with a creature so completely that your consciousness takes control over its body. The challenge pool for Subsume the Spirit is manipulation plus animal ken versus variable depending on how you're using it. The cost is 1 rouse check, free if you use this on a Ghoul familiar. That's something that is nice to take into consideration. The system states, to activate Subsume the Spirit, target an animal within your line of sight, perform a rouse check, and spend a standard action. No rouse check is required to target your own Ghoul familiars. Make a manipulation plus animal ken test versus a difficulty of 4. If successful, your consciousness is transferred into the target animal's body. When targeting an animal ghouled by someone other than yourself, or an animal that is already subsumed by another, you must also succeed in a manipulation plus animal ken challenge versus the resolve plus animal ken of its dominator. Successfully targeting an animal who was subsumed by another character kicks that character's consciousness out of the body and returns them to their vampiric body. While the animal is inhabited by your consciousness, its mind is rendered in a fugue-like state. Because your character's mind is focused entirely on controlling the body they have inhabited, the vampire has no sense of anything occurring to their native physical form. Your character's original body falls into a torpid state and can neither defend itself nor act on its own. But it does retain your fortitude, or other powers that are always active while your consciousness is absent. While subsuming the spirit, you always know the direction and distance of your real body, even if it moves, although you cannot perceive its surroundings. While possessing a ghouled animal, you may utilize any discipline power it possesses, as if used by a ghoul itself. You maintain your own mental attributes, but you must use the physical and social attributes and skills of the animal in other cases. Subsume the spirit lasts for 1 hour. You may extend the duration of Subsume the Spirit by performing 1 rouse check prior to its expiration. When extending this possession into the daylight, you must follow the rules for staying awake, found on page 122 of Laws of the Night. And if you see the sun, you must test for Terror Frenzy, versus a difficulty of 2. If the animal dies while you are possessing it, your consciousness immediately returns to your body, and you suffer 1 aggravated damage. If your physical body takes damage of any type, your consciousness is immediately released from the animal and returns to your character's body. The duration of this power is 1 hour plus 1 hour per additional rouse check. Subsume the Spirit is a very powerful discipline, but you really do need to consider where is your body while all this is happening. Do you have a special chamber just big enough for you to look into the eyes of another animal while you're using this? What exactly is your thought here? Do you have a retainer who's ready to pick you up and put you into a safe cell so that nothing can get to you? There are things to consider here, but being able to take on the living body of an animal. Free also of rouse checks if it's a ghouled familiar. This isn't a useful power in my personal opinion. Level 4. Control the savage beast. Many vampires fear the loss of control that comes with frenzy, and you understand why. With this power, you can manipulate others who have allowed their beast to take over. The challenge pool for Control the Savage Beasts is Charisma plus Animal Ken versus the Stamina plus Resolve, no bonus for being in Frenzy, also, of the target. The cost is 1 rouse check. The system states, make 1 rouse check and an opposed challenge to direct a frenzying vampire within your line of sight. Your target does not gain the usual bonus against social powers when being in frenzy when targeted by Control the Savage Beast. Instructing a frenzying vampire takes no action and can be done outside of your turn, but this power may only be used once per turn. The target must still fight, feed, or flee as required by their particular type of frenzy, but you can decide which target your victim attacks, whose blood she drinks, and in which direction they flee. Controlling another vampire's frenzy does not limit your ability to act, and the frenzied vampire's dictated actions will occur on their initiative. If you are the only available target for the hunger or fury frenzy of another vampire, you may attempt to alter their fury or hunger frenzy to a terror frenzy. Make another rouse check and engage the target frenzying vampire in another opposed challenge. If successful, your target's current frenzy immediately becomes a terror frenzy, with you as a source of fear. A vampire who has been successfully targeted by Control the Savage Beast cannot ride the wave. You may only control 1 frenzying vampire at a time, and you must maintain line of sight in order to do so. Duration, the frenzy duration. Control the Savage Beast. It's such a... It's something that can definitely come in handy. If somebody is about to frenzy, this is a good chance for you to attack your enemy with them as a weapon. If they are the enemy, this is a chance for you to have them attack somebody who is much stronger than they are. Perhaps the prince, if you're in the vicinity. There's plenty of uses for Control the Savage Beast. The fact that you can also change a frenzy that's targeted at you into a terror frenzy is a lifesaver, both for you and for the target in occasions. But this is a much more devious... There are so many much more devious uses of Control the Savage Beast. And utilizing those in a court situation, if somebody frenzies, can be not only completely damaging to their reputation, but could also end up putting you in a proper position, depending on how you utilize it. Level 5, Animal Dominion. You have access to every nearby animal's perception. You may cycle through them until you find what you're looking for. From tracking to eavesdropping, all their senses are now yours. Animal Dominion's cost is 1 rouse check, and the system states, make 1 rouse check and spend a simple action to activate Animal Dominion. When activated, your eyes turn cloudy white, and your consciousness becomes supernaturally linked to all the animals within 1 square mile. You see, hear, and feel exactly what they do, all at the same time. You may elect to experience any sensory stimuli within the area of effect of Animal Dominion, such as listening to a conversation, watching a criminal steal a car, or catching the scent of fire. This power does not extend your field of vision for the purpose of activating other disciplines or powers, nor does it give you any control over the animals. As a practical matter, the storyteller will advise you if something important is happening within your range of the power. What additional information this gives you about your surroundings is decided by the storyteller. You may elect to extend the duration of Animal Dominion by performing 1 rouse check prior to its expiration. Finally, with an additional rouse check, you may choose to subsume the spirit, if you possess that power, on any animal you are linked to while using Animal Dominion. However, doing so immediately ends the duration of Animal Dominion. Duration: Animal Dominion lasts for 10 minutes per rouse check. This is a disgusting power, and I have to say it's a massive upgrade than it was in the tabletop version, because Animal Dominion in the tabletop version, it can be... You have to argue for its relevance. But with this power, not only can you gain the perception of all animals within a 1 mile radius of you activating that power, you can then, if you have subsumed the spirit, instantly take over the body of any animal within a mile radius. That is disgusting. And it also makes the ability to subsume the spirit that much better, because you can now make sure that you are safe before utilizing it. It's definitely worth the thought of taking. Level 5, Drawing Out the Beast. Through extensive practice, you have learned to pause on the brink of frenzy and direct your own beast's energy into another creature. Drawing Out the Beast's challenge pool is wits plus animal ken versus the composure plus resolve of the target. The cost is 1 rouse check. The system states, anytime you must test to resist a terror or fury frenzy, you may instead make a contested challenge versus another character in your line of sight as a free action. If you succeed, your target enters the same type of frenzy, as though they failed the challenge to resist frenzy instead of you. If you fail the contested challenge, you enter the appropriate frenzy as normal. While mortals cannot normally frenzy on their own, this power causes them to gain all the drawbacks and benefits of a fury or terror frenzy, as if they were a vampire. Further stimuli after utilizing this power can cause you to frenzy again, but you may continue to use this power as long as you can make a rouse check, and other targets remain present. You may not target a frenzying character with this power. The duration is a frenzy's duration. So, if you're about to frenzy, you can literally just go, and you do it now. And that's it. With a quick animal, with a quick wits plus animal ken versus composure plus resolve check and a rouse check, you can just chuck your frenzy into somebody else. It will remain the appropriate frenzy, and you can be forced to frenzy again, but as long as there's a target around, you can just keep doing this over and over again. The only limitations there are your rouse check and how long is your luck going to hold out when it comes to these tests. I like this power. I'm not sure if I would take it, specifically for the character that I'm currently playing. But it's such an interesting, like, powerful tool in an arsenal to be able to not do that. If somebody is attempting to make you frenzy, they're the first target, in my opinion. Like, at that point in time, you make them frenzy, and they're the ones going to look bad, especially if this isn't some kind of social situation, such as an Elysium or a rant or something like that. This right here is a power that could be used to save face socially. So we've just covered a discipline in level by level, and this is everything that is found in Laws of the Night. So as other books come out, those disciplines will be found in the other playlists for those other books. But I do want to remind you that the reason why we are doing this is a quick check reference. If you need to find something or have somebody else basically speaking to help you grasp what they're talking about with these powers, because it can be a lot of information. Keep in mind that there are time codes in the description of this video so that you can get to the specific information that you need for the individual discipline. I am Voivode Maquette. This is Our World of Darkness, and thank you for joining me into this deep dive, level by level look in a Mind's Eye Theater Vampire the Masquerade Laws of the Night discipline. Good evening.